Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
So stressful when the world's on fire. Good God. I can't look at this, guys. Like, my strategy is you buy it and you hope that you got a good spot. Yeah, but we all think you're crazy. You don't fight this. No way. The markets are freaking out and you don't think that anything is wrong? Come back tomorrow and I'll lose it all. Should be fun.
All right, boys. Non-farms here. Man, I thought I was like really on time here today, and I only just made it by 90 seconds. But hey, that's okay. All right, so long story short, the real number to look for is 110K. We are above 110K, probably good for the market. Probably good for the market up until about 300K. Below 100K, market probably a little sad. Market meaning S&P 500. We are down a pretty decent amount from where we were yesterday. But still up on the week, right? Where are we? It's still okay for the week. But you can kind of see, like, non-farms could just decide everything, right? I actually think that this is another one where maybe they hit the number pretty close. No, the market has not actually been pricing a ton of volatility for this number, even though it seems like everybody's going to be watching it. So I'm thinking comes out, it's like 110, there's a little bit of a move, and then we spend the rest of the session talking about Elon Musk and Donald Trump fighting. There's some iceberging. There is some selling in the treasuries ahead of this, so it's making me a little nervous. Here we go. Oof. Okay, 139. So that is good. It's not a disaster, but it is good. In fact, I'd almost say Goldilocks. What a mess. The order flow here is just like... You know, like you ever played Left 4 Dead? And there's like the fat boomer zombie that pukes on you? That's what it's doing right now. Volume all across this area. Okay, so ZB seems to be selling pretty hard, actually. ZN is kind of like, I don't know what to make of that, but ZB is selling hard. I would expect that to make the spread. Well, that's interesting. So I'm getting flattening in the yield curve, but not in the knob spread side of the yield curve. The knob is pretty flat. Well, the dollar seemed to like that. I'd say it's a relatively mild move for the dollar. Since my algorithm shouldn't be taking any trades right now, I'm going to take this opportunity to turn it off. Change the settings, turn it back on. This is interesting. So they're saying that traders are reducing their bets for rate cuts this year. I am seeing some volume pile into ZN long a little bit, but it is just not going anywhere for them. And it is very much pinned to that 16 area. You could see it get pushed out that channel really aggressively, right? By the way, what happened to Bitcoin overnight? That's interesting. Let's come and check some of our longer term charts here real quick. Okay. ZB Hammered says Octave. Yes, it definitely was. We'll zoom in here a little bit and you can see not quite touching the weekly lows, but to the weekly lows, let's say. We'll see if they retrace this or not. Because I would say it was a good number, but it wasn't that crazy. So I don't think that you're seeing this move because people's expectations of the future have changed, right? But probably different bets and so forth that people had on maybe being liquidated now. Here's the SPOOs. Okay, good upside, but it's still, it's not to the weekly highs. Oil's still in its range. Gold's still in its range. Silver's still looking good. There is like a real squeeze going on in silver, man. That chart is crazy. Copper kind of more like gold. And then, well, the Japanese, I tell you what, man. You don't see a line that clean in the Japanese yen very often, do you? And the dollar kind of facing up, but we've got 99.28 here on my chart as kind of upside resistance possibly. So, well, let's not call it upside resistance. Let's just say like the last daily high. And then Bitcoin. Okay, so there was Bitcoin. Oh, okay, yes. This was Bitcoin selling off because of the spat between Donald Trump and Elon Musk. So I think that what's going on here is it's not just Donald Trump and Elon Musk. The market has been reading this as an alliance between tech moguls and Donald Trump. And this falling out between them, they're reading that as a fallout with the whole tech bros, with all tech bros. And so hence maybe he won't be as favorable to Bitcoin in that case. I think that's kind of why that's moving the way that it is. Pretty extreme move for Bitcoin. off of that. Not an extreme move for Bitcoin, but off of that, it's been kind of quiet over there, and then that really moved the needle, didn't it? Okay, did they make new lows, new daily lows here? Yes, they did. Well. I'm actually a little surprised by that one. This is not the kind of news release that I would expect to continue going. Of course, it's still very early on in this. It hasn't even been 10 minutes. But this is definitely not one that I'm sitting here thinking, oh yeah, this is going to be a trend day down. That doesn't make sense to me. But they're still selling it, so oof. Oh wow. That was an aggressive sell. So you watch that and your first gut feeling might be, oh wow, that's a really aggressive sell. They're just going to continue selling this, aren't they? But I read that as its move's probably over. That was probably the last little big event, and now there's probably less big events after us. They might push a little bit further, but a very, very strong chance that we start to get pinned to 11.5 now. put volume coming in and seeing at 110 evens and 08. 08 would maybe make sense, but evens, I'm kind of like, no. Like for dailies, I mean, maybe on the longer time frame, but like by the end of the day, I'd be so shocked. I'd be so shocked. Watch it go and do that now just because I'm saying that. So I guess I need to keep a close eye on the Twitters for when Elon is gonna tweet, huh? Well, 115 is the point of control. Isn't that funny how that works? We're moving down. There's a big slip through there. You're kind of like, oh, wow, that's a ton of volume. That must mean they really want to sell, and then you sell, and then what happens? 115 becomes point of control. I don't think I could come up with a better example of a liquidity hole, like being able to predict the liquidity hole happen and how that tends to play out, than that right there. I feel like we should have like a poll or something. So for that, any kind of question I ask, I feel like I know how it would turn out. Maybe I don't. Maybe I don't know how it turns out. Let's just try. Let's just try a simple poll. Should there be a third political party? I think it's really funny how like the nuclear option in the political world has become, well, I'm going to start a third party. Like Trump has said that before in the past too, hasn't he? No, you can't possibly upset the balance between the uniparty and the uniparty. Okay, that was interesting. So there is definitely still a bit of a tug of war going on here. And that is curious to me because normally by this point, once a node forms like that around 11.5, it gets really quiet, but it's still like gearing to do something. Yeah. Did you see it come back and then they slammed it again? I guess somebody wants to sell it really, really badly. Maybe somebody that doesn't necessarily know what they're doing, though. Like, the risk in this situation is you have your sell, it moves down a ton, and then as soon as you're done, it unwinds back up on you. Where you seem to be pro Musk around here. I used to not like Musk, and then I started liking him, and now I love him to pieces. Those three. The funny thing is I didn't say what the question was, right? So I guess it's a measure of just who you like more, doesn't it? Okay, that selling impulse did push them a little bit further. Are we still getting stuff in the dollar, by the way? A little bit. I don't think it's dollar correlations that's pushing this. I do think that it was volume in ZN. Perhaps we shall reset It's kind of interesting. I can definitely see in this situation traders thinking like, oh, now is my time to pile on my bets, short the treasuries, right? And I'm kind of like, I don't know if this non-farms actually matters to the interest rates. Like, I think that the options market was probably right and justified in pricing lower volatility for this release, but tell that to the sellers in ZN, right? I wouldn't say that it's a monster or anything like that, but there's definitely some people taking shorts here, isn't there? Yay. Why Elon Musk was destined to fail in DC. Okay. Okay, the poll is a little bit more equal with 5 votes. Now it's Musk 60%, Trump 40%. I think that if you don't care or you think that the poll is dumb, that you should vote for whoever's losing at the moment. Hey. By the way, on the Tesla front, a little bit of a sell-off here. Post news. What I'm seeing in the order flows right now kind of makes me think about, the market is just not efficient, and you come in and you make a move based on some sort of heuristic or overly simplistic understanding of the market that is maybe completely off. And yet, if the market moves, it kind of reinforces that thinking, right? So any of the people that are out there thinking like, this is really, really bad for treasuries, I really, really want to sell treasuries, they're feeling pretty good right now, aren't they? Headline says Trump considering getting rid of his Tesla. Oh. So the last thing that I heard, I would expect there to be tweets this morning, but supposedly they have a meeting scheduled now. Like what I've seen was Elon Musk was walking it back. Zero Hedge changed its headline. For a while there, Zero Hedge had on its headline, "The Walk Back Begins," but last night he did tweet, "Okay, we won't decommission Dragon." So that one was actually okay. So Dragon is the space vehicle that's being designed to take astronauts to the International Space Station. Okay. And, Elon Musk, I think he was just mad. Honestly, I think some of this is just guys being impulsive. So his first thing is maybe we will cancel Dragon. Man, can you imagine how insanely bad that would be for the private space industry? Like, okay, we fund this program so that you can take astronauts up to the International Space Station. We're going to rely on private companies to do this. And then all of a sudden, on a whim, private company can decide, I have a beef with the current president, so we're going to cancel the program. Like, if he actually did that, that could very well lead to a complete abandonment of the entire private space industry. So when I heard that, I was kind of like, I don't think you're actually going to cancel it. And aren't there like contracts and stuff? Like, can he can't just cancel it anytime he wants, can he? I think he'd get sued. I was really surprised when he said that. But he's already walked it back. You can still see the volume trying to continue to press it, but those pushes are becoming weaker. I'm actually starting to look at this and feel like, you know what, maybe why not just like here. I'm thinking, well, why would you do it here? Could have done it at 10.5. I'm glad I didn't. Have the markets been volatile this week? I would say not really. Yesterday was definitely the most eventful. and all because of Elon Musk and Donald Trump arguing. That's the thing that's the funniest to me is you get these two guys, they have a flame war on Twitter, and it affects the stock market. It's just pretty bonkers. There we go. Nope. There it goes a little lower. A little bit of drop in the Japanese yen with that as well. So what am I thinking here? I'm thinking this is acting like, I'm not going to say it's following all of my qualifications for like a trend day down, but the price movement is definitely acting like this is a trend day down, and I don't see it playing out that way. And so I want to take the counter trade. Okay, well, there was a little bit of clawback there. So maybe I was just a tad early. I think this is a little bit of a gamble trade. It's a sim trade. Actually, maybe I should take it live. I don't know. Well, I don't like what I see on the spread. Why is the spread so big? M is correct, right? Why is the spread in ZN 7 ticks? I don't like that at all. Maybe just because it's non-farms today? Nah, I really don't like that. Okay, well, I guess I won't take a live trade then. I was kind of thinking about, well, why not? Why not? It could be fun. Nah, I don't like that. I don't like that one bit. Next good liquidity is 05. Well, so I'm seeing something really weird that I've never seen before in ZN. I don't know how to put this, so I just show you the chart. So we've been moving down. Cost basis has been staying up here. And in fact, cost basis long really came up here. Which I think means that while there has been a pretty decent decline in cumulative delta, it's been into a lot of icebergs in liquidity. So, like, lots of profit taking. No, wait, does that make sense? I don't think that makes sense. I don't know what it is. But I've never seen like the cost basis on the buy side has reached a high for the day. I've never seen that before. I don't know like numerically how that happens. But you know, I do have the sim long there. So let's just ride with it. I think it's also, you know, in terms of like, should Seth take a live trade? You usually have trouble on Fridays. So let's keep it with a sim. It's an odd day. Octavius thinks there's big trapped traders. There could be. There could be. I definitely think that there was a different type of player in the market today. There was somebody executing on this in a way that was very unusual for the treasuries. Because usually the treasuries will form that liquidity hole, and then all of the big guys go, oh, well, okay. And then they reduce the amount of execution, and they just start executing in that hole. Because you can execute more volume in those liquidity holes than you can when like the latent liquidity is all recovered and you're hitting with the market orders. So for us to form a liquidity hole and there's a big guy still being that aggressive is very unusual in the 10-year treasury. And that kind of, that's why I was saying, maybe it's a seller that doesn't really know what he's doing. Like somebody that's really, really big, like a really, really big hedge fund that like never takes trades in the treasuries or something like that, you know, or doesn't really understand the optimal execution thing as it pertains to a really thick instrument like that. So I think my play here is basically a play on trapped traders, but we'll see if it works out for me. That's a very technically based trade. And I always kind of think of a trade like that as a little bit of a gamble, so. Okay, well, because I kind of averaged it out and everything, I was able to be plus, or not plus, but just long one contract from essentially 07. It's not quite as good as I would like, because I wouldn't mind having a second contract to be able to take off at like 11. So did you guys hear about the Supreme Court decisions yesterday? There were 3 Supreme Court decisions released yesterday, and they were all anonymous. And some of them seem to actually have some pretty big implications. So the one that I think is the biggest deal is there was this lawsuit where a woman said that she was discriminated against because she was a white woman and her boss was gay. And so she showed that there was discrimination against her because she was straight. And the courts were saying, well, the burden of proof for you to prove that you were discriminated against is higher because you're like part of the majority group, essentially. And the Supreme Court unanimously rejected that. They said that the burden of proof to prove discrimination based on a protected class is the same for somebody that's in a majority as it is for somebody that's in a minority. And I think that this has a significant effect on company policies, because essentially before you could be like, well, we have this DEI program. There might be some concern that like it could result in discrimination against white people, but you're unlikely to get sued for it or whatever, so it's they allow it, right? Well, now it's definitely going to be like anything that could ever possibly be construed as discrimination against somebody for a protected class. They're going to very aggressively stamp any of that out. So I think that Supreme Court decision probably actually has a measurable impact on corporate work culture. I thought that was kind of interesting. Where are we at on our poll? 9 votes, 56 for Trump, or sorry, for Musk, 56 for Musk, and 44% for Trump. You know what's funny is that, like, we all call Donald Trump Trump, but I think that more people call Elon Musk Elon than they call him Mr. Musk. Why is that? Why do we use Elon's first name to refer to him? And you're selling VWAP? 12.5? So my conundrum here is that for this trade, the like take profits would normally be at the cost basis, which is all the way up at 20. I actually think if I were to get 16, I would probably need to take it. Or I could just take the 16 ticks. That might be you can at least put a limit order there. I don't know if it'll actually get there. I'm a little in the 45 minutes that we have. And I wish I had more time with you guys. I'm having fun today. I'm trying to have more fun. Because part of me has come in here and has decided, you know what? I don't know if you can really move the needle in trading in 90 minutes. So I can take shots and stuff, but I kind of think that my day trading career is on hold for a few years. So what do I do here with it? Well, I think that the best thing I can do is I can just be here. So I'm just trying to be here, you know? And I'm having fun with it. Elon is rather rare. Musk is a common word. Trump is rare. Donald is a common word. I don't know if I would say that the word Trump is rare. But I also not sure I would say that the word Musk is common. I suppose we could go, oh, you know what? I should probably clear current trades up too. Musk is literally a word for a smell. Yeah, but do people really use it that often? Do people really use the word Musk more often than the name Elon? Well, and I guess maybe before Elon Musk came along, maybe that was true. That uptick looked really good. Like, the bid was behind it right away. There wasn't like, I didn't see any reactions to it. I didn't see a whole lot of market volume come in and or limit orders adjust or anything like that. Just the bid followed it up really well for some reason. Here in a spot where we're kind of forming one of those 3-tick hole kind of things. So that uptick kind of sticks out to me. I kind of feel like that we could do a study to show that people prefer to use the less common word to refer to somebody. I don't know. In my mind, then I'm just thinking from the perspective of like all of the kind of heuristics and intuition that people tend to use, right? I think that you use a first name with somebody that's a little bit more familiar, and you use a last name when it's more of a formal matter, right? So like if you and Donald Trump were best friends, you'd probably call him Donnie or Donald, right? But because he's the president, we call him President Trump. So that's probably why we call him President Trump. So why do we feel so casual with Elon Musk? Is it because Elon Musk is just has such a casual public persona in general, right? Like you would never call Mr. Bezos. If Mr. Bezos was here, you wouldn't call him Jeffrey, would you? That's why the joke at my house whenever we get stuff from Amazon is, oh, Jeffrey sent us another package. Like that we're best friends with Jeffrey Bezos. But you would never call him Jeffrey, would you? No, you wouldn't. Whereas Elon Musk, he's always wearing t-shirts and tweets all this silly stuff on Twitter. Yeah, I think that he presents a very casual public persona. I think that's my theory. Yeah, I think I'm sticking with that. It makes sense to me. But that's what I was thinking of when I made the poll. Was like I wanted to say, okay, do you support Elon or Trump? And I was like, will that bias the poll? Should I use the last name for both of them? So I used the last name for both of them. That's why I chose that. Isn't that classic Seth overanalyzing things? But like that's what was going through my head when I put it out. I wouldn't call it a clawback because a clawback would probably be on the upside against the really big move, but we did fall back down a little bit. There's a bit of an iceberg at L7, but I still see relatively aggressive selling still. Like the net change in cumulative delta isn't moving, but there are points where I see relatively large sells. Now, curiously enough, my algorithm did not trigger long. It looks like it should have triggered long, but it did not. You think that you're still targeting 05? You know what? I'll be honest, AO, I love you so much. You're here. You've been here for such a long time, and you've been such a loyal viewer. But when I see that target 05, it kind of has me like, right? Because I know that the reason you're putting it out there is because there was large orders down there. And like when it works, but all of the study I've done on that says that it's not a reliable indication of where we're going to go. So if he's right, I'm just going to be bitter. Just like we're still cool, but just realize that when you're right, I'm going to be a little bit bitter about it, okay? Is there anything even close to the big order at 05? Let's see here. They have 47 at 05. Definitely not anything below that. Oh, there is a 49 at 13. Why not long to 13? All right, well, let's move that. Makes sense, right? Huh? Come on. If the initial balance breaks after TLT open, I think we will hit evens. Yeah, man. I tell you what, so usually what happens in non-farms is there's a really, really big initial impulse, and then it either retraces or just kind of balances out somewhere near those lows. So that's kind of why I'm making the bet, like, it's been long enough. There was some activity that kind of suggests to me liquidity hole. I can take the hero trade. And I think part of why I'm feeling like, hey, we should play with this with a sim order is because I keep seeing Octavius talk about it like he thinks it's a good trade. And it's been working out pretty good for him. And I'm kind of sitting here like, well, I feel like I understand this one really well. Why am I not taking advantage of it? Because every time that I've tried it, I get screwed over. That's why. And I'm underwater on this one, you know? So like, but he's looking for the breakout, and I'm like, you know, for it to break down again would be somewhat rare, isn't it? But isn't that the way that it always goes? Is like sometimes these moves that just don't stop. It's not in a situation when you would have expected it, and maybe that's part of why it happens like that. I don't know. Okay, Gun Driver, he said something. Jerry Springer material for sure. That being said, not a fan of a billionaire whose large ass is billionaires largely coming off the backs of the taxpayer. Yeah, okay, so I'm a little bit surprised, honestly, with you guys, the results of the poll. But maybe not. Like, why? So right now it's 50-50 now that we've had 14 votes. But I don't know. There's been this kind of this thing going on with Elon Musk for a long ever since he started supporting the president. Like, I see a lot of people online talk like, oh, you know, like the Trump supporters, they absolutely love Musk, and the Democrats, they absolutely hate Musk, and now that they're at odds, that should flip around, and the Democrats will absolutely love Musk, and they'll start buying Teslas and everything, and forgive him for doing the salute and all this sort of stuff, and Donald Trump supporters will just absolutely despise him. And that's kind of one of the narratives that I kind of see people presenting, yeah? But what I see is, I kind of feel like the Trump supporters have always been uneasy about Elon Musk. Like, he'll say things that they really, really love and everything, but I think that there's always been this unease, like, maybe he's just doing this for himself. I don't really trust him. I don't think that he really completely has our best interests at mind. I think the thing that happened that put this in the spotlight the most early on was when they had that spat between Elon Musk and the base over H-1B visas, right? I think if this, I mean, it seems like it's calming down, but like if it flares up again and they really have a true break, I think that would be one of the things that I would love to see Donald Trump do to troll Elon, is for Donald Trump to just completely halt all H-1B visas. That would be great. Be great for me, at least. I think they've always kind of been a little bit uneasy with him, and I've definitely seen people be like, you see, this is exactly why I was uneasy with him, right? We have one bill and he loses his cool. Okay. So I kind of thought that maybe some of that would show up in our poll, but I don't think it is. People should read some of Whitney Webb's. I've never heard of Whitney Webb with respect to Epstein, Elon, JP Morgan, and the Intel State. Oh man, like I totally forgot about that. That was like the craziest part of it, right? Was Elon Musk is on Twitter and is like, I'm gonna drop the bomb now, boosh. The reason that the Epstein files haven't been released to the public is because Donald Trump is in them. Like, what? So do you think that is explicitly the reason is Donald Trump is telling them to slow walk it and everything because he thinks it's bad for him politically or whatever? And Elon Musk knows that? Or is Elon Musk just making BS up? Because like it certainly sounds to me like, oh, I'm searching for like what's the most harmful thing I could possibly say, and you know, you're just kind of reaching and that's like the closest thing, you know? That's kind of what it feels like to me. It's gonna be real fun to find out. I don't know. Like the thing is that he is in the report. I mean, we know that for a fact that he is in the report because he was friends with Epstein for a really long time. I think he's been to the island before. And he, I don't know what the word you want to use is, but like when they were investigating, Trump helped the police and they had like a falling out. And it kind of sounds like that part of the falling out was that he didn't like that it seemed like Epstein was going after young girls at his Mar-a-Lago resort, right? So we know that he's in there. And I think that if the files were released and he was in there and it was bad for him, that the reason it would be bad for him is because it would show that he had sex with a minor, right? It's funny how low call volume and open interest are for each. Oh, it totally, right? It is like when you go to a higher time frame, everybody and their dog is short the treasuries, man. Despite this pump up is basically since this really big this down and then this down, everybody has been talking short. It doesn't surprise me that that's what you're seeing in the options volume. I find it curious though, like I would think that the options volume would maybe be even more indicative of professional positioning, the options volume in the futures at least. But a lot of the things that we're seeing so far kind of have maybe like, oh, it's just in line with what's already happened. If not, maybe things that like retail traders would do. I don't know. It's kind of weird. They're sitting there right at the lows in ZN, but not on the other ones. That's a little curious. Are we seeing some changes in the spread here? Well, the knob spread is flattening out a little bit. So yeah. Okay. So here again, shouldn't the robot be taking a trade? Maybe it hasn't gotten below 47. It should straight up take a trade if it gets below 47. It could be that it did try taking a trade, but that our little fix actually caused more of a problem, and so it doesn't even submit orders, huh? Okay, so there was quite a bit of selling on the open in Tesla, but it looks like they have withstood it and are maybe possibly looking up at the moment. So yay for us, I guess. Okay, so you know what? So here's the thing, though. I think, I don't know. Who do I like more? There's things about both of them that I just, you know what? I think the thing is I just don't like people. Except for maybe my wife, and even there's a lot of things about my wife that drive me crazy too. That it's kind of hard for me to be like explicitly approve of a person, you know? Like, oh, I totally support Elon Musk or Donald Trump. I just don't see myself ever saying something like that. But in terms of like who is right and or who is going to be the winner and the loser from all of this, I think almost certainly Donald Trump is winning on this one. So in terms of like just who's winning, I think that Elon Musk just had a 10% decline in his stock because of this. That alone probably makes him the loser, right? And the thing is, the Republicans are still going to pass the bill. Like, despite Musk ranting about it and everything, they probably will pass the bill in some form. So on that, I think Trump is the winner. And Trump will still be president, and Elon Musk probably loses some of his influence. Because I don't think that you can just go back to, okay, I'm going to play to the Democrats now and Democrats will like him. I don't think so. I think that they will never trust him again. So trying to switch back to Democrats, that wouldn't work. That wouldn't work. Is the focus even still on the bill, or is the focus now on the drama? Well, I mean, it's definitely on the drama itself, but they're all cut from the same cloth. I don't know. There's one of the things that I find kind of funny and amusing when reading the online discussion about all of it. And I really, the discussion is a lot more interesting to me than like what they actually tweeted and everything. Everybody's reaction to it is way more interesting. But I see a lot of like mind reading, like people trying to guess what Elon Musk is thinking. Like a bunch of people saying, "Oh, it's all a ruse. They're going to come out tomorrow and show. Actually, we were, you know, sitting there next to each other laughing about it the whole time." You know, that's mind reading. You don't know. We don't know these people. You can't say what really they're thinking and motivates them. I do know that Elon Musk is autistic. I think that the way that he's behaving is completely in line with like an autistic crash out, but I don't really know if that's what he's really thinking or not. I can't know what the internal state of his mind is. We don't have the technology to do that. But if we're going to talk about the bill, let's talk about the bill. I think Elon Musk is wrong about the bill. So the thing is that the bill has $1.6 trillion in cuts. I think that this is rated like over 10 years. Over 10 years, it's $1.6 trillion in cuts, but it raises the deficit about 3.2 or something like that. And so when all is said and done, it increases the deficit by 1.6. Okay. Well, how is that if you just said there was cuts in there? Well, there are cuts to spending, but they are also extending the Trump tax cuts from Trump's first term. So the budget was originally anticipating that the tax rates would go back up. If they don't, then the way that they score it is that that's a loss in revenue of $3.2 trillion. You see? Which frankly doesn't really make much sense, because there's no way that the Republicans were not going to extend those tax cuts. And I would even bet that if Joe Biden was president, that they would extend those tax cuts, or at least pass, you know, they would be having a similar bill that would possibly modify them somewhat. There's no way that they would just let them expire. Like the stock market had one of the greatest runs in history when they passed that bill. You know? So like the whole thing about like, does it actually increase the deficit or not? I really think a lot of people are being misled, because all of the online conversation that I see is like, even amongst conservatives, is like, oh, it's a trash bill. They're not really serious about this. And I'm sitting here like, oh, okay, like hold up. Do you want the Trump tax cuts to expire? So I don't think there's a single Republican that would say yes to that. Would Elon Musk say yes to that? I don't think he would. I think he would start going into the different things in the tax cut that maybe you like, because I think there was good and bad in that, right? But you would go and point out the things that you'd think were good, and you know, should we get rid of that? Should we get rid of that? Of course he would say no, right? And Congress is really super divided. They can only pass a budget through reconciliation anyways. Like, there's a real limit to what you can do. And I think that it's a step in the right direction, at least. So I really feel that like coming in and like preventing it from being passed or trying to prevent it from being passed and failing is like a real self-own on Elon Musk's part. I watch it and I'm like, this is exactly the kind of mistake that you make as if they're autistic. So that you get this ideological rigidity, and they can't seem to see past that, like, oh, I want to resolve the entire deficit instead of this, you know, let's just take it one step in this direction, right? That's what I see. So I think that Trump is right. Or rather, I think that they should pass the bill. They could make it better. They're supposed to be negotiating today, right? Or they're supposed to have a call. And maybe the call would point out some additional cuts they could put in on the mandatory spending that would make Rand Paul and Elon Musk happy. And then it could be like a win all around. But let's see here. What makes me mad is the military spending no cuts. Literally 50 cents of every dollar is going to military industrial complex. The case in point, the F-35 costs 44,000. Yeah. No, there totally is. It totally is. Oh, by the way, we did touch 05. I don't know if that counts for AO here. I think that we would have to trade through 05 for us to say that he got filled, right? Anyways, the whole thing is that they believe that military needs more money. I mean, this is kind of an interesting conundrum that we have, is that there is some investment that needs to be made in military. I think that the U.S. military has some really interesting problems in front of them. You look at what just happened in Ukraine, with Ukraine taking out like half of Russia's bomber fleet with drones. Then you see what the Houthis have been doing with shooting missiles at boats in the Red Sea. And we're seeing a situation where, you know, what has been America's primary advantage has been the technology. So much so that when the Gulf War happened, they just obliterated the fifth largest army in the world and didn't lose a single soldier. Right? And now all of a sudden, if that tech isn't really an advantage, if that tech is actually kind of a burden on you because it costs so much and it's so easy to lose, what do? We have to do a lot of research to sort that out and create protective measures against drones and advance our drone warfare, for sure, right? So there needs to be more investment. So does that mean that you just up the amount of money? Well, the thing is that the military wastes so much money too. There's so much waste in the military. It's crazy because they have so much money to begin with. But the problem is that if you just keep the funding the way that it is, and just tell them to pinch pennies more, you probably don't get the investment that you need. So I don't know if there's really a way to solve that problem. Let's see here. Uzi's saying, I don't think it's done. You mean the downside move? They could waste some money on me. I actually would be an investment. 1 billion is fine. Okay, well, I don't know. I'm probably not going to be around long enough to find out, right? It kind of looks to me like that the play that like there's a liquidity hole here and all of that seems to have gone okay. I didn't get a reversal. It just stayed in the liquidity hole. I was a little bit early, so if I had gotten in after that at like 0.5 half, then that would have been a better play. I could have taken profits at 10, but you know, I wasn't even thinking about taking profits then. But it was just to say that like the MFE on it has been okay. Actually, what has been the oh, how come I don't see it over here? How come I don't see my position? Even though I am definitely in a trade. There we go. Oh, I know I've had MFE on this. I don't know. Whatever. I would run if NinjaTrader would run in Linux. Yeah, it probably would. I mean, you can try Wine, but I think it would probably be hard to get it to work because it uses the .NET framework. If it was based on .NET Core, then maybe you could get it to work in Linux, but you set the limit order loss at the same time as purchase, or do you wait to put your stop loss limit when you see it going down? So I think that it's probably a best practice to put a stop somewhere. I would put it in a place where like it's extremely unlikely that your stop would ever get hit, right? Like you should be getting out. You should be seeing that the trade is going bad and getting out long before your stop loss is hit. I do not do that because you guys all look at it and start talking about it. And that's why I don't really put one. I just kind of go, yeah, my live trades are all in micros. If something crazy happens, I guess something crazy happens and I just eat it. But you should have a stop somewhere. But more broadly, I try to avoid having set stops and targets. You know, like I put that order out there at 13. You know, if we were up there, maybe I would move it. Maybe I'd cancel it. Who knows? This is kind of based on what I'm seeing in the order flow at the time. Okay, so I'm watching this and I'm thinking there's definitely something wrong with my algo because it should have triggered. It should have triggered in this. So I think in this advanced base strategy, I should have enter long. Oh, I do have a log output for info. Hold on. have it. I have a method for like the log level, don't I? But it's not log. Yeah, I do. I definitely do have a parameter for log. So why isn't it showing up over here? So I don't even, it should give me like a message over here, but it didn't even give me a message over here. So I don't know what's with that. But I kind of think that it should have taken a trade. Trump is not interested in talking to Elon Musk, a man who has lost his mind. Oh, I thought they were going to have a call. I look at that Kraken. Well, you know, Kraken is like the most Wall Street-ish of the crypto exchanges. So I don't know. I think that in the short term, they're not going to do anything, right? But at some point, probably they do start messing with it and screw us up. Probably, yes. So by the way, I didn't mess with Sierra charts today. I wanted to kind of watch this. But we need to get back on that on Monday. Maybe it's in here. Oh. Trump is talking about Powell again. It's trying to change the subject. That's interesting. So I'm looking at myself in the camera. I have this thing where I like go back and forth between, do I want one buttons or two? I kind of feel like that two looks a little bit better, but you know, it's flipped out a little bit. It needs to be like this. Yeah. Whatever. What's your prediction on rate cuts for the remainder of the year? I still think that they'll do 2 rate cuts this year. So I'm a little annoyed when we were up at 7.5. And I was like, well, it's getting close. Maybe I should just take it off there. But then I was like, well, we can wait until the end of the stream. But now the end of the stream went down a tick. Okay, well, I'll add this logging in this other spot to make sure that it's not just the manage order long that's screwing up. Oh, okay. It was Musk was hinting that they should have a call. But now I guess Trump is basically saying, nah, I'm not interested in playing that game right now. And give it a weekend and maybe Elon comes crawling back. I don't know. We'll see. It's interesting. It's very uncharacteristic of Trump, don't you think? And 2 rate cuts. I don't know. I feel that this economy looks incredibly resilient. But there are definitely parts of the economy that are, like the tech sector is just really, really hurting right now. I don't know. One of the things is there's this tax change that allows them to deduct the development costs. So that will be a really big step in the right direction. They pass that. And maybe that's all they need to fix that. But it kind of seems to me that they need lower interest rates too. And I don't think that 2 rate cuts would be a huge deal. And that is the plan, so I don't know. I don't know why some in the market seem to be so convinced that it's not going to be that. I remember this one guy was saying, like, in Discord, and he was one of those guys that was mega short treasuries. And he was like, no, they're gonna hike rates before the summer. I was like, no, that's silly. Do you guys remember? No, we were talking about it here on the stream. You remember that? I was like, that's silly. Like if you really think that, you know, YOLO into the puts or calls or whatever you got, and just because that would be the trade of the century if you were right. But obviously, they didn't hike. Okay, well, I guess I will just take the -3. China is developing a vac train? Oh, wow, they are. I thought that we all decided that that was an impractical idea. But China don't care, huh? Ooh, Seth, now you need to revenge trade it all back as fast as you can. Right. Well, that's what tends to happen on Friday. By the way, before I go, like, look at Spoos, man. Look at the chart on Spoos. That actually is kind of looking a little bit wild. They extended off of that number really well. Well, maybe I'm missing something. So, you know, after the stream, I'll be going to Zero Hedge and everything and reading. And maybe there's some stuff in the data that I've missed. But today, I'm still kind of like, there's way more volume than is justified by what just happened. And it's kind of funny when we had so many other data points that were so much more important and we didn't get this kind of volume. But that's the way the market goes. So trader's going to trade. I will see you guys on Monday. We can continue the Sierra Charts thing, trying to understand the Sierra Charts API. Maybe, I don't know, if you guys program with Sierra Charts, maybe you can, do some research with me. We're trying to see if we can detect stops with their MBO data, which would mean you would get a message that is an update to a market order. So, so far, it kind of seems like that stuff is abstracted away from us, and so we can't do that. But if you know of a way to do it, I'd be really, really interested. Otherwise, I will just work on converting my other indicator over to their system. So, all right, guys, but I will see you Monday. Stay excellent.